Hi everyone. So in the previous video, I've demonstrated the GPT extension for Excel that I've built with QueryStorm. And in this video, I'll be creating this extension from scratch, and you can watch me code it. Let's start by quickly reviewing the functionality of that extension. So we can use the prompt function to tell me a good sandwich recipe with avocados. I do expect a good recipe from it. It's not very good at exact stuff, but cooking advice is something that it does really well. Okay, so avocado and basic sandwich. Okay, that sounds lovely. Now let's see if we can use it to generate an Excel function. So over here we have a SuggestFormula function, and I'm going to describe the formula, and it's going to give me the formula, and then I can test it. So let's see if we can return the third word in this text. So return the third word in cell C3. I think that's fine. Let's give it a try. Okay, so it did return something. Now let's right-click it and click this test formula thing. And sure enough, bacon it is. So this seems to be correct. I wouldn't trust it too much with generating formulas, but you can ask it to generate a bunch of formulas and then evaluate all of them and see which one seems to work. That is an approach that does have its merits. All right, so let's see how to build this thing. Let's go into QueryStorm, open up the IDE. I have the GPT extension over here, but I'm going to make a new one. So I'm going to make this ChatGPT demo app. Call it that. So once we do that, we have our app class, we have a scaffolded class 1, and we have a scaffolded project config here. Let's get rid of this class 1, we don't need it. So for a start, let's just start with a class that we are going to use to define our Excel functions. Our function, the first function we want to do is the prompt function. That one is going to accept a string, and it is going to return a string. For a start, just to kind of build out incrementally, I'm just going to return input dot to upper, just to make sure that the plumbing is working. So if I build that and call prompt over here with test, so I do get test in the uppercase. So we don't want to obviously do uppercase. We want to convert an instruction in English into whatever ChatGPT returns. So we are going to be accepting a string, returning a string, but this is probably going to be async, and it might return more than one result, as we'll see now. So let's start building the integration with ChatGPT. So rather than doing that in this function, it's a bit easier if we start with the C# script, because like a script is basically a scratch pad, so we can kind of experiment and see what. It's more easy to run a script and see what things return. So I'm going to right-click the project and create a new C# script. These defaults are fine. So right now, if I don't know, press 1, 2, 3 and run that, it evaluates the expression. So what I want to do is basically I'm going to go into let me go into my browser and find the so this is openai.com API. I'm going to go into the docs section and look at the making request section in the API reference. So basically what we want to accomplish is this. So this is a curl request. It's hitting the completions endpoint with a bearer authorization, passing in the API key, and then it's passing in the parameters of the request here in this area. So if we want to, let's say, replicate that, I'm going to basically just paste this here, just to see what we want to replicate. So in C# we are going to need to do this. We're going to need an HTTP client. So client equals new HTTP client. we need bearer authentication, and the way to do that is to add into the default headers I can never remember what what I need to pass here. So I found on I found on Stack Overflow, obviously, the code to copy and paste into my script. So for this, obviously I need to change this to client, and this class I need to bring in from the correct namespace. And the next part is I want to take this object. Well, I want to create this object in C# and then convert it to a string, and then pass that string to this endpoint. Let's call this object data, and want to create a new anonymous object. And we have to adjust the syntax a little bit, which should be fairly easy to do. Let's do model is going to be this DaVinci. And let me actually increase the font a little bit just so that it's easier to see. The prompt, I'll just leave this as the prompt. I have to use this syntax for this to be legal C#. Temperature parameter, that's how creative ChatGPT is going to be. I'll put that as 0.5 so that it's a bit more creative, but we'll experiment with it. So let's just put 0.1 for now. So now we have our data, and we need to pass it to the post method. So let's see what the post method accepts. So we need this URL. So I'm going to hit this URL. With the HTTP content, which is an HTTP content object. Content equals new, and we want string content. So basically, we do want to take this data, convert it to a string. In order to do that, we'll just use JSON convert dot serialize object data. Have to specify an encoding. I'm not really sure why this needs to be UTF-8. I do think it has to be. And the type of content is application JSON. So we do need to specify that. And let's pass in this. We'll capture the response into a variable. And then we can response dot did I mistype this? I did. Response dot is it content? I think it should be. No, I do need to await this because I was working with a task. And then yeah, content and read as string async. Response string equals, and then await this as well. And then we can just return this just to see basically what it returns. So I'll run this, and I get this this response. Incorrect API key provided. This is obviously correct. I do not have an API key here. So in order to get an API key, I can go over to my browser, go over to this section here, log in. So I've already logged in with my personal account, so I'll just cancel that and go here. View my API keys. I'm going to create a new secret key. I'll just copy this one. I'll just trash all of these after this. After I make this video, so I'm not really sharing any sensitive data. So I'll just paste that in here, and if I run this again, after a couple of seconds, what do I get? Text. This is indeed a test. This is good. So I have successfully sent a prompt to ChatGPT and gotten a response. I've gotten a JSON response, so I'm going to take this JSON. I'm going to go back to my browser and to look for JSON to C#. There are a few online converters where you basically paste in a snippet of JSON and it generates a C# class that lets you map to this JSON. I do want to use Pascal case, so I'm going to click convert. Basically, this is what I get. So I get strongly typed classes which map to this JSON. So I have a root object which has an ID, object property, created property, model choices, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just going to dump all of that into here. And then I'm going to, instead of returning a string, I'm going to deserialize the string. So deserialize object. It's going to be root and response string. So this is going to be the result. And in this result, I'm not interested in the majority of the result. I am interested in the choices that ChatGPT returns, and each choice gives me the text. Let me just scroll down a bit. Each choice gives me the text, so I'm going to return that. So if I press F5 now, after a couple of seconds, it looks like it returned nothing. But if I hover over this, apparently there's like new lines in this in the response. I don't know why, but anyway, to get rid of the new lines, I'll just do trim over here. I'll press F5 again, and we indeed get a sensical response from ChatGPT. Okay, so what if we want to have multiple suggestions from ChatGPT? That's easy to do. We have another parameter here, which is n. So let's say we want to have 3 suggestions. And we wanted to pick these 3. There's a best of parameter, which I think needs to be supplied when you're passing n. I'm not really an expert with the API, but let's just do something like this, pass in this, and see what we get. So if I run this again, I do get the same thing 3 times, which is, it happens with ChatGPT. I don't know why. I don't know if I'm using it wrong, but this happens quite often. So instead of returning the entire list, I want to convert this to a hash set, and that's going to remove the duplicates. So this basically means a maximum of 3. But if I kind of fiddle around with the creativity, so let's say I put 0.5, I think it is going to get more creative with the responses. Actually, no. Let's do something like this. Hello there, and press F5. Yeah, so we do get, we get fairly creative responses, but yeah, this first one is, it has HTML inside it, so probably we want to tone down the creativity a bit. So let's run this again and see what it returns. Maybe tone down the creativity a bit more. Let's do 0.3. Yeah, not very creative there. Anyway, we can kind of experiment with these parameters and see what we come up with. So let's now package this into a function. Actually, I'll make a class here. I'll make a function first. So public IEnumerable of string. Let's go here. Prompt string input, and we'll just do this. Auto format this, and I am going to want to make this async, and I want this to return a task of IEnumerable of string, so that's better. I don't want to hard code the prompt, so I want the prompt to be passed in here. I do want to be able to configure the maximum number of results and the creativity. So I'll create parameters for those. So uint max results. I'll put a default of 1 here and a double of temperature equals 0.9, let's say 2 or something like that as a default temperature. And now I can return. I do need to await this because this is async, and I'm going to ask it for like, can you give me an recipe for omelette. I'm not sure if this is how you spell omelette, but let's see if it works. So run this. Ingredients. Well, this is not a lot of text, but the reason it's not a lot of text because I've specified max token is 7. I want max token to be 1,000. So if I rerun this again, we can see that okay, value cannot be null. We have run into an issue. Just to make sure just to kind of keep an eye on what's going on over here. I'm going to log the response string and then run this again. And still waiting for some reason. Don't know why. I think it's likely that the API is being kind of bombarded a little, so probably that's why it's not. It's taking its time and it didn't work the previous time. So let's give it a few more seconds and see if it comes around. But yep, there we go. Okay, so we did get three recipes for omelets. That's good. I do want to use these. I'm just passing these, but I'm not using them here. So I never specified max results here. So let me do this, max results. Best off, I'll do max results times 2. I don't know, that seems like an okay number. And want to specify the temperature here. So if I run this again, I'll put max results 2 over here, run this again, wait a couple of seconds or a bit more than a couple, and hopefully we should get 2 results, 2 different recipes for an omelette. Dum, 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 dum. So yeah, this took a really long time. It's possible that it's just because of the quantity of text, but probably not. Let's give it. Let's ask for something that's a bit less, bit more straightforward. What's the population of Germany? And run this and see if it comes. Okay, there we go. So we get 2 identical results. So as of July, blah, 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 population of Germany, 83 million, seems about right. Okay, so let's see if we can use this function inside the, if we can use this to build a prompt function here. So I'm going to take all of this code, and I'm going to go into this project, add a new class, and do a chat GPT service. And I'm going to paste in this code. Obviously, I want to get rid of these. Probably going to need to bring them back in. I'll get rid of this invocation. I do want to use task, and I do want to use these namespaces. I do need this as well. Whoops. So there we go. These don't have to be public. I don't need this comment. Don't need this. And I don't need this. To auto format this. And okay, so these are now internal to my API class. I don't need to have this comment any longer, so let's get rid of that as well. And also this API key, I'm hard coding it here, but I don't want to hard code it. I actually want to configure this. But let's, for now, let's just extract it into the constructor as a parameter. So ChatGPT service, and do string API key. I'm going to put this into a field, and I want to get rid of this and put the API key over here. I want to instantiate this class in a central location, and then all of the places that might need this service inside this project are going to get it through dependency injection. The way to do that is to do something like this. So in the app class, we want to take the container and register instance. For now, I'll just register this as an instance. I'll have to change this in soon, but for now, let's just do this. So now, anybody who needs an instance of ChatGPT service is going to get this one that is configured with this API key. So that centralized it. So now I'm going to need the ChatGPT service here as a dependency. To get the service, I'm just going to request it by defining a constructor parameter, and that should sort out the injection of this service. Now in the prompt function, I'm just going to use GPT dot, and if I hover over this, we can notice that an object reference is required for the non-static field. That is because we have a static function trying to access an instance field. We do have a prompt function over here. Want to pass in the input, and I also want to pass in these results. So these additional parameters. So I'll just copy the parameters from here because I want to keep the same defaults. Oops, let's go back here and pass in max results and the temperature. I can add comments here as well for to make sure that this is described in the UI when the user tries to enter it. We'll see that later on. Okay, so we can now prompt the user for with a prompt and return results. This is returning an error because this is returning a task of IEnumerable, but here I'm declaring it as string. So rather than so let's fix that. IEnumerable of string. So this should now work fine. I'm returning basically the task here. I could make this async and then await here, but that wouldn't be very helpful. I can just return the task directly. This is an async function, so I do want to call this prompt async, just to ensure that I'm not that it's obvious that this is returning a task. So I just use the rename feature, and if I go to F12 here, I can see that it's renamed across the project. Let me save this. Let me actually build this project now. And we have value cannot be null. ChatGPT service line 49. Let's double click this. Okay, so this returned null. Let's see in the log. So we have a log call over here. Okay, server returned an error while processing a request. Sorry about that. Let's just give it another go. Let's just try this again because I think this should work. Let's give it a couple of seconds. I think the service is under a lot of let's hover over this. Is this a new request, or let me just change something here? Still nothing. Let's wait a bit. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, it returned a bit of a mess. Okay, so let's make sure to dial down the creativity a bit more. So temperature, I'm going to put in as 0.1. And let's do, this is a test. Is this working? Or does this work? Does this work? And let's put 3 results maximum and temperature 0.1. Run this again. Yes, this works. Excellent. Okay, ChatGPT is responding to our prompt. So that's good. The next thing I want to do is, okay, we can obviously prompt it, but let's make another convenience function, which basically asks ChatGPT for help with the Excel function. So instead of prompt, we're going to do suggest function, description, and I'll leave these parameters as well. Might rename this one to creativity, but for now I'll just leave it. And the way I want to implement this is very simple. So the prompt is going to be this: create an Excel function that does the following, and then just append this function description and return whatever the prompt function returns for this prompt, max results, temperature, and so okay, that should do it. So let's see if this this works. Let's build this and put some numbers here. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then let's see if we can ask it to suggest a function. So give me the sum of all odd numbers in column A. So it's thinking for a little while. The server had an error. I guess I'm recording this at a time when the server is extremely busy because it's taking its sweet time to respond, and it's often returning errors, but mostly it doesn't do that, but we'll see. We might have more luck with this. Okay, there we go. So it returned a formula, and now we can copy this formula and then paste it in here as a value, and then F2 into it, and then yeah, we basically ensure that it's treated as a formula. So let's see what it's doing. It's summing, yeah, it's summing all of the numbers, which divided by 2 return 1. Okay, so let's see if that's. Okay, so that's not the correct number. That's not the correct formula. So let's see if we can ask it for a couple of more suggestions. So let it be a bit more creative and ask it to return 3 different results. It keeps returning the same one. So let's see. Let's paste it in here. From A1 to A, so instead of this, we want to do this, and do this, some product. Yeah, I think that's better. So let's get rid of these. So that is 1 plus 3 plus 5 equals 9. So if I put another 5 over here, 14. But if I put a 4, okay. So that does seem to be the correct formula. All right. Now let's see if we can get it to give us a bit more results just by increasing creativity. Hopefully that'll generate a few more results. Okay, there we go. Okay. Now we have some more results. Now, what would be nice if we could basically evaluate each of these results easily, just before we decide which one we want to use. So to do that, I want to add a context menu over here. So when I right click here, I want to have a new context command that basically shows up only for this function, it basically lets me evaluate it by placing the formula here, like in the cell next to the one that contains the formula. Okay, so to do that, we can go over here and add a context command class over here. We can just define it. We don't have to do anything special to it. We don't have to register explicitly to make it available. We can because the app class uses reflection to figure out to find all of the context commands and basically load them using reflection. We can control this if we want to. We can control this mechanism, but just defining the class is fine for almost all scenarios. So just to make sure that this indeed works, I'm going to build this. So this will add a context command, which with the list title that will be available in cells. So if I do that, I can see context command equals 1. I can give it a face ID. So let's say, I don't know, 123. There's a list of these IDs on the web. But if I build that, we can see that we get some sort of icon over here. So there's a list of icons. We can check this link for a list of these numbers and which icon each number represents. Or you can add explicitly the picture and the mask. I'll just get rid of these, get rid of this. Category, we can put like GPT. If we have multiple of these, so we can use category to group them. If we do, we can see that we have a group GPT and the icon over here. I don't particularly have a need for this category here, so I'll just keep this null. And allowed locations. Yeah, I do want to have this available in cells. I don't want this to be available in tables because this is always going to be a cell, not a table, the results of this function. So let's call this test function, and let's build this. So we let this run. Basically, this is just going to throw a message box. So if I click this, it says hello from this command. What I want to do is I want to find, see which cell I'm placed in, and I want to then go one cell to the right and then take the value of this cell and put it as a formula in this cell. And that should be fairly straightforward. So what I need to do is I need to access the workbook. And the way to access the workbook is to fetch the workbook accessor and put that in a field. And then we'll do something like this. So workbook accessor, we need to use run or enqueue or evaluate methods when we're working with the workbook, because we want to make sure that we're working on the correct thread, and this is the way to do it. The function here accepts a workbook and then does something to the workbook. So in our case, we are going to need to get the currently selected cell. So we can do that this way. Workbook doesn't have selection, interestingly enough, but the application object does. So we have selection, which returns an object, but there is in QueryStorm included an extension method that casts it to a selected range. So if you're expecting a range to be selected, so get selected range, and if I if I do this, it'll give me the namespace. So the control dot invokes the actions here. So I can now put this into a range object, and if I want to, I can now log the address of the currently selected range. So let's see what that does. I can build this and I can test this and it logs, okay, we are in cell L2. We now need to get a hold of the cell that's immediately next to it, and there's another extension method. I mean, you can use the Excel API for it, but it's just a bit easier to use the extension methods that QueryStorm uses internally anyway, so just expose them to user as well. So we want to start on the same row. We want to move one cell to these. All of these indexes are one based. So 1 means current row. 2 means column next to the current one. And then the end row is also going to be the same one. And this is going to give us the next cell to the right. So we can do. We can put this into a target range variable, and then we can do this, where we want to say this. So set function into range, and then pass that here. Want to use string interpolation here, so range value. Actually, I'll put the formula our formula equals range dot value dot to string. I'll do this and then use the formula variable here, and I want to put that into the target range address, and I'm also actually going to do the thing rather than just logging that. So formula equals formula, and I'm going to build this and wait for our suggest method to suggest a result. Then I'm going to right click, test function, and sure enough, we have our value over here. Let's try that with this one, test function. So these two numbers are not the same. We can kind of investigate which of these functions is correct, but that's for GPT to sort out. This isn't exactly reliable. Like asking ChatGPT for a formula, if you know, like, if it's something like specific and that needs to be precise, ChatGPT is currently not good enough to give you reliable suggestions, but it can kind of point you in the right direction. So, so yeah, we can kind of experiment with these formulas and see what they return. Anyway, one thing that's still left to do is if I right click here and say test function, this context menu doesn't make, this command doesn't make sense in here. The only place where it makes sense is in the results of this suggest function function. So the way to make sure that it only appears there is to do workbook accessor. So here we've only limited it to cells. So it's not going to appear on buttons, on tables. So if I create a table over here, it's not going to appear. But it is appearing here in the cells. So it's also not going to appear on top of buttons and other objects, graphs, pivot tables. It is going to appear on cells. But if we want to limit it further to specific cells, we can do that this way. So we want to, on the workbook accessor, we want to run the following command. We want to subscribe over here to the sheet change event, or actually selection changed. It's a bit weird that this event is on the workbook class, but the selection is not on the workbook class. But it is what it is. It's the Excel API. Anyway, update visibility, and then we want to generate this method and want to take the target range and check if the formula, want to do this to string and then convert that to this. And then we want to check if it contains, suggest formula. And we'll use that as the visibility of the command. So visible equals this. So now I'm going to build this. And once I do, we can right-click over here, and we shouldn't see the context menu command. But if we right-click over here, suggest function. Okay, we're still not seeing it, but that's because I should put this in the criteria. So let's see if it shows up here. So we have it here. We don't have it here. So here we can see the function, and here we don't. Okay, so the next thing is, and we can, if we want to kind of figure out what's going on, we can put a breakpoint here, start the app with pressing F5, and then we can try, let's say, for instance, now we got 3 of these. So now I changed the selected cell, and I can go into here and see if Okay, so the next thing we want to do is, for now, this GPT service, ChatGPT service, it's accepting an API key, and this API key is defined inside the app class. It's hard-coded inside the app class. This isn't ideal. If we publish this this package, it's going to use our API key. But if we want every user to use their own API key, so they're built, every user is built according to how much they use, then we have to let the user configure this API key rather than hard coding it into the demo app. So let's see how to do that. So I'm going to add a settings class into the project. The name of the settings class is not really important. I'll just leave settings1. And the scaffolds a settings class. The only setting we need is a string property, and this is going to be the API key. I'm going to put something here like, I don't know, API key, or enter API key here. Okay, I'll leave the updated and unupdated members here. The trackable and editable attributes mean the following. So the trackable attribute means that this gets persisted. So this is persisted, so that if you close Excel, whatever you had here before, that gets persisted. So that when you restart Excel, you still have the same value. It's basically saved. The editable one attribute, that lets you, that basically tells the configuration, the user interface here to display it in this grid. Without this editable attribute, it wouldn't be displayed in this grid. Without this trackable attribute, it wouldn't be persisted to a data storage, basically a file in the app data folder. Okay, so basically what we want to do is have a separate entry here for the ChatGPT demo app, and we want to have the API key here. So how do we do that? So we've pretty much done everything we need for that. So if I now build this and click configure, we have ChatGPT demo app and we have API key here. The only thing we're not doing yet is we're not really using this API key anywhere. So basically, in order to do that, we want to get rid of this hard-coded string over here. And we don't want to pass a string to this service. We actually want to pass the entire settings object to this service. So if I press F12 instead of API key, I want to pass in the settings object. Get rid of this API key over here. Get rid of this, and instead of API key, I want to read whatever is the current value of the API key in the settings object. So the only thing the thing that's not correct now is the app class. So over here, instead of registering the ChatGPT service, I want to register the type and let the container instantiate the ChatGPT service when it's first requested, and I want it to be container control lifetime manager, and that's pretty much it. So basically, anytime somebody needs this chat service, the container is going to the first time somebody requests this service, the container is going to create it. And then in subsequent requests to this service, it's just going to reuse the same singleton, basically, instance of the ChatGPT service. When it creates the ChatGPT service, it's obviously going to inject the settings, and that's pretty much all we need. So let's build this again. So you can see now that we have received an incorrect API key. The provided key is enter blah, 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 and that's because we haven't configured anything. If we enter our API key here, we need to get rid of these double quotes, press OK, then this should work. So let's try this again. And there we go. Another thing we might want to do is we might want to cache these results. So if we do want to cache these results, so if I execute this again, it's going to hit the GPT service again and give me back the results. If I do want to cache this, the way to do it would be as follows. So I can go here into this function. I'll just put cached over here. And this is going to be cached in memory. So as long as the Excel process is alive, it's going to remember the value of the previous results for this same set of parameters. So that if I try to execute this again, you'll see that it's returning the same thing immediately. It's not really hitting the backend. If I change something like just add a space over here, it's going to recalculate. So it really depends on what you want to do with this. The cache lives as long as the Excel process lives. So when you restart Excel, it's going to start off with a clean cache. There's currently no possibility of setting a different cache, like a file-based cache or something like that, or a cache that expires over time. But yeah, this is the only you can implement that inside your function, but out of the box, this is the only type of caching that's supported. So I'm not sure in this situation if it's worth doing. So I think I'd rather have it not be cached, because the results are volatile anyway. You can run the same function multiple times and get different results. So I think it's better off not being cached. But if you do put it set it to cached, you can just put spaces over here, and it just to make sure that you're not getting a cached result. Okay, so once we've made this package, the next logical step would be to publish it, to let other people use it as well. So the way to do that would be to right-click here, click Publish. It's going to ask us for information about the package. This information is stored in the project config file, so we can enter it once. So let's say Antonio Nakić-Alfirević. I'll add a description here. So assisted formula entry for Excel. And here I can choose where I want to push this feed to. I don't want to push this feed into one of these existing feeds. I could define a new feed and push it there, but and then anybody who had the URL of the feed that I'm pushing to would be able to use it. I already have pushed a version of this package online, and that is to the official QueryStorm repository, to this one. So yeah, you can pull it from there. Okay. So that pretty much covers everything I wanted to show in this video. The point of this video was not necessarily ChatGPT or the functionalities of ChatGPT. The point of it was to demonstrate basically how to build a package of useful functionality for Excel using QueryStorm, how to package it, how to publish it online and make it available to other users. So I hope you found this useful. If you have any comments or ideas or suggestions, please leave them below in the comment section of this video. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will hopefully see you in the next video that I'll be doing. Okay, bye-bye.